to kick it off today, I just wanted to start and talk about some things that I thought were interesting. And speaking of authentic, it's the topic of being authentic, but more importantly, just being true and real to ourselves. I think a lot of things that we as people struggle with is we're not honest with ourselves a lot of the time. Um, and let's be real, there's a lot of things going on in day to day life that we're not honest about. And we feel like we have to live a certain facade. We feel like we have to act a certain way with different people. And that creates just this cognitive dissonance time and time and time again. And I was thinking the other day, it's almost like, you're having your reality shattered over and over and over and over because there really is no baseline. There really is no true north, right? There's no true self. And what I mean by that is you're playing so many different characters. It's really hard for you to almost acknowledge or even be aware of which one really is. You could call it your higher self, your true self, whatever lens you want to look at it through, but who are you? Who is that being that's inside your body operating who you are in this character that you're playing, right? Because I don't know what some of you all's beliefs are, but with me, I think, and that's something about me. I never try to say like, oh yes, I know this for a fact, right? Like, it's a good thing to wonder. It's a good thing to imagine. It's a good thing to just say, hey, maybe this is a possibility. Maybe this is a possibility. But with that said, I think reincarnation is a pretty strong possibility, right? And I think that's a big part of showing like who our higher selves are and who we are in essence. Like, yes, I'm operating as Lee and I'm playing this character Lee that was this body that was named Lee, but my soul, whoever that is or whatever that is, whether it be AI, technology, spirit, who knows, right? So these words coming out of my mouth and these thoughts being processed are just running through this system and body that we have that operated. But yeah, don't want to get too much down that rabbit hole. But with that said, that's kind of what I was getting at with, just knowing who you really are, because there's no better feeling than being able to be yourself in all situations, right? So it's something that I think we get caught up a lot in, is that what I was saying earlier is that we're one person at work, we're one person at home with our spouse or by ourselves, we're one person out in public, we're one person at different events, and it's each time you're basically creating another character, you're acting in another play, and I think that's what causes a lot of stress on us, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, because you get down in moments where you're not able to truly be who you want to be. You get anxious in other times where you are overthinking who you want to be or want to portray yourself as. And, we had to learn to let those things go. We had to learn to say, hey, like, let's really embrace what I enjoy, who I am. And don't get me wrong, that doesn't give anybody an excuse to be a shitty person, right? I think we all have an internal moral compass that lets us know if we're going on the right track. Like, is something, at our core actually right? Like, things that are in our instincts, essentially, that have been programmed in us time and time again through evolution or however we've evolved and however you want to look at it. Things that just we know at our core, right? So as long as you're aware of that and you do truly take pride in who you are and you're a good person, and there's certain things that are subjective about a good person. Not all good people do the same things, just like not all bad do the same things. But just making a genuine effort, I think, is what it comes down to. Making that effort to be, you hear people talk about being conscious in every moment now, but making that effort to really be aware of your thoughts and how those thoughts translate into feelings and then later into actions, or whichever, which one comes first, the chicken or the egg. Do you feel something then act? Do you act and feel? they've seen in science that it's almost that our body and our minds are predicting, and dictating what we do before we're able to even think about it. Just like our next breath, or just like anticipating something. You've already made that decision before you've even had a chance to decide if you wanted to do it or not. I know it's it can get pretty weird, but in essence, that's what I wanted to get at today. Is that's the biggest thing I think on any journey or life path that we're trying to be on, or anything you're trying to accomplish, right? Because we always talk about getting better, and anytime you say something in that context, you're basically saying that you don't have that already. So you're basically saying that you're at a point that's not what you resonate with. You're at a point that doesn't feel like your best potential. But does that mean you're actually getting better, or does that mean you're just becoming more disciplined, becoming more in tune with yourself? Because sure, you could be getting better at certain things, but that is just repetition and showing up and consistency, just like no different than the gym, right? You want to start creating habits, there has to be a process around that, and you just do it over and over and over again until it's ingrained in your subconscious and becomes a everyday automatic movement, subconscious movement. And that's, ultimately how we want to look at ourselves, but really trying to understand in those moments why we are thinking the way we're thinking, why we're feeling the way we're thinking, and being present and aware of that, and being able to make a conscious decision. And I think that's where meditation and everything comes in at. I think that's because it slows down everything around you so much that you're able to get in such a zone that you're able to make decisions that are ultimately the clearest. And that's what's super interesting. You're making these choices that, who knows, are they predetermined clues that are put in front of your path? I don't want to get too weird for the first one back, but I think we're able to shift our realities and things like that. So, are we missing out on these clues and things right in front of us because we're not conscious in those moments? And I think that's what causes us not to be aligned with ourselves. I was talking with somebody the other day, and they were just essentially talking about spiritual alignment. Making sure that you're aligned with who you really are. And I really resonated with that because I think that's what causes us, again, like I was saying earlier, I think that's what causes us so much friction. We don't truly align or try to align because we get so stuck in the mundane. We get so stuck in the current that we let go of everything. I mean, even this podcast is a perfect example. Granted, I had a lot of personal things going on, just a lot of life changes, but at the same time too, I still could have made some time, or blocked out some time, right? I think that's with anything. So it's being able to go back and tap into those things that at our core, and I think as a child, I think that's why childhood is so important, and that's another topic with the school system, things like that we'll talk about with mental health, but we really need to embrace our childhoods because that is where so much of this creativity and history and thoughts are just harvested, and it's so delicate, right? And we don't want to crush that as we get older, and then when we are older, we're already starting to trying to undo, and so why not go and lay a proper foundation for our kids and our future, right? But again, going back to being conscious in every moment. You hear that talked about now. It's pretty popular, with meditation things. It's almost becoming pseudo hip, right? It's a cool thing to do. But the biggest thing is don't lose the true meaning as to why you're doing that in the first place, right? So it's really understanding what you want, what you enjoy, and finding that out. Trying different things. I've got a camera here that I haven't used in years. I didn't really learn how to do. I've been wanting to take podcasting really seriously, so I finally got a studio set up. And that's just what it comes down to, just things like that. I've been wanting to play guitar for a while. We just so happened to move into a lady that does piano lessons. So little things like that, just being aware of what's going on in your environment and then taking advantage or seizing the moment and the opportunity to try new things, to try things that interest you. So, and that ultimately ties into, really aligning with yourself, because at your core, you know who you are. You know you. Heard, something Alan Watts said one time, water's not aware that it's water or it's wet, right? Something along those lines. So you know who you are, and we're trying to figure out ourselves so much, sometimes you just have to let it be. Let your conscience be your guide. Jiminy Cricket. So, that's just what I wanted to say today. I don't want to ramble on too much. I know I can and will. But just wanted to come back, do a little quick episode, get some thoughts going out there. And, let me know what you think. Feel free to reach out. I'm super active on LinkedIn. Add me on there. Shoot me a message. My contact information is on there. Let's set up a call. And if you know anybody out there with any interesting, authentic stories, and I think most of the time we put too much emphasis on people that are in the limelight. We put way too much focus on the people that have successfully made it big time financially. And we get to hear their stories and their adversities and their overcomings. But just because you got to a certain level financially and you went through all those things doesn't mean that anybody that's gone through those things are worse, but they may have not reached that level of financial success is any less than, in any type of way, intelligence, spirit, being, just overall human, who they are as a person. And I think that's something very important to keep in mind, is that we think that just because somebody is financially successful, they're so intelligent or brilliant or wise or, whatever it may be. But at the same time, business is its own thought process and game within itself. Like, just because somebody's figured out how to maneuver a business or figured out a certain niche in a business, etc., that doesn't make them any better of a person. Because I know a hell of a lot of people that's not very financially successful, but rich in their soul, rich in what they've done, and rich in their spirit, and just what they've overcome given their situation they've been in, right? Because everybody's best is different, it's subjective. So those are just some things to keep in mind. Really take the time to just be, I don't want to say be with yourself, because it still creates a sense of like being disconnected, but just be. You're there. Have fun in this body, operate in this game, go out and do some cool shit. It's stumble, bumble, and fumble. I've always said that. So keep on keeping on. I keep throwing cheesy quotes out there all day long. So looking forward to being back. Looking forward to having some awesome guests, and really enjoy talking about these things, sharing some things about mental health, and looking forward to bringing you guys some good stories, some real stories, and just some authentic people that are wanting to help others. Hope you guys have a good week, and I'll talk to you soon.